Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are pulling a book off the shelf that, well, it carries a serious amount of baggage. You've definitely seen it. It's got that stark cover, the bold orange text.
Mhm.
It's The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene.
Ah, yes. The book that is famously banned in some prisons, but quietly passed around in pretty much every Fortune 500 boardroom.
That's the paradox, isn't it? It
Yeah.
has this reputation for being a manual for the wicked,
Yeah.
a how-to guide for aspiring Bond villains.
Right. But when you actually start stripping away all that controversy and look at the source material, I mean, the history, the psychology, it feels less like a villain's manifesto and more like um, a field guide to reality.
A field guide to reality. I like that. I think that's the fairest way to look at it.
Well, Green's argument isn't go out and destroy people. His whole premise is that power dynamics are like gravity. They are happening all the time, whether you acknowledge them or not.
You can say you hate gravity, but if you step off a cliff,
Yeah.
you're still going to fall.
Exactly. The book is essentially saying, stop wishing the world was fair and learn how it actually works.
So it's a tool for awareness, really.
Precisely. The source material really emphasizes that these laws are amoral. You could use them to conquer a country, sure, but you can also use them to navigate office politics, keep your job, or just stop someone else from manipulating you. It's defense just as much as offense.
Right. And defense is what we want to focus on today. I mean, there are 48 laws. If we tried to list them all, we'd be here until next Tuesday.
We would.
So we've sort of filtered the source material down to what we think are the essentials, the big themes that keep coming up: hierarchy, reputation, strategy, and adaptability. And we have to talk about the historical stories,
Okay.
because Greene uses history as his data set, and some of these anecdotes are just wild.
They are. And they usually end with someone losing their head, either metaphorically or sometimes literally, because they didn't understand the game.
On that cheerful note, let's get into the first major theme: navigating hierarchy and ego. This really all centers on Law 1, never outshine the master.
This is the absolute foundational law, and it's the one people mess up the most because it just feels so counterintuitive. We're taught from grade school that if you work hard and show off your talent, you'll be rewarded, Greene says. Be very, very careful with that assumption.
The cautionary tale here is Nicolas Fouquet, right?
Yeah.
The finance minister for King Louis IV feud back in the 1600s. And this story is tragic because Fouquet really thought he was doing everything right.
He did. He wasn't trying to stage a coup. He was trying to be a good employee.
He just wanted promotion.
Exactly. Fouquet was brilliant, wealthy, and he wanted to prove his loyalty to the young king. The prime minister position was open, so he decided to throw a party at his private chateau to show Louis that he was the best man for the job.
And the source describes this party as an absolute spectacle. We're talking new plays written just for the evening, elaborate fireworks, a 7-course banquet.
Foods from the Orient that no one in France had ever even seen before. It was, by all accounts, the greatest party the country had ever seen.
And that was the fatal mistake.
That was it. Fouquet thought the king would look at all this and say, wow, what a capable minister. Look at his taste, his connections, his wealth. I should promote him.
But Louis didn't say that at all.
Not even close. Louis XIV looked at his finance minister living in a palace that was actually nicer than the king's own residence. He saw all the guests cheering for Fouquet. He didn't feel admiration. He felt small. He felt insecure.
And a king or a CEO or any manager who feels insecure is dangerous.
The most dangerous. So instead of a promotion, what did Fouquet get?
He was arrested the very next day.
The very next day, Louis trumped up some embezzlement charges, which were probably fake, or at least wildly exaggerated, and threw Fouquet into solitary confinement. He stayed there for 20 years until he died. All because he tried too hard to impress his boss.
That is genuinely terrifying. But is the lesson here, don't be talented?
Yeah.
Because that seems like a bad strategy for success, too. I mean, if you're incompetent, you get fired.
Right. If you're too competent, you get imprisoned. It's a fine line. But the book makes a crucial distinction. You can be talented. You just cannot let your talent threaten the ego of the person above you. The counterexample the source gives is Galileo.
Ah, right, the astronomer.
So Galileo was in a really tight spot in the early 1600s. He needed funding. He discovers the moons of Jupiter, a massive scientific breakthrough. Now, he could have named them after himself. He could have said, look how smart I am. I found new worlds.
Which would have been the Fouquet move. Look at me. I'm the great discoverer.
Exactly. Instead, he turns the telescope around, so to speak. He dedicated the discovery to the Medici family. The Medicis used Jupiter as their family symbol. So Galileo essentially said, I didn't find new stars. I found your glory written in the heavens. These are the Medicean stars.
Wow. So he made it about them. He framed his own genius as a tool that just amplified their greatness.
He made his masters look like the source of the power. And because he made them feel secure and grand, they hired him as the official court mathematician and philosopher. He secured his future by putting the spotlight on them, not himself.
So Law 1 isn't about hiding your light. It's about angling the reflection so it shines on the boss.
That's a perfect way to put it. Manage the ego above you. If they feel secure, you're safe to be brilliant. If they feel threatened, you're Fouquet.
And this connects so naturally to Law 4. Always say less than necessary. Because I imagine nothing outshines a master faster than someone who just will not shut up.
Or someone who accidentally reveals too much. The source brings Louis XIV back into the picture here. He definitely learned from that Fouquet incident. He became a master of silence.
How so?
While his courtiers would come to him with these long, elaborate schemes or gossip or requests, they'd talk and talk, trying to persuade him. And Louis would just listen, stone-faced. And at the end, he'd just say, "I shall see," and then walk away.
I shall see. Oh, that's maddening.
It's powerful, though. It kept everyone completely off balance. They couldn't read him. And because they couldn't read him, they couldn't manipulate him. Greene argues that silence makes you appear uncomfortable, yes, but it also makes you appear in control. It adds gravity.
That's so true. In a meeting, the person who talks the most often seems the most desperate for approval. The person who just listens and says one sentence at the end, that's usually the person in charge.
Usually. And there's a risk management aspect to this, too. The more you say, the higher the probability that you'll say something foolish. The source contrasts Louis with Coriolanus, the Roman hero. Incredible warrior, brave, strong, but he could not control his tongue.
He just kept talking.
He bragged, he insulted people, he got into arguments. He literally talked his way out of power and into banishment.
Words are like toothpaste, right? Once they're out, you can't put them back in the tube.
And in power dynamics, your words are ammunition for your enemies. Give them as little as you possibly can.
Okay, speaking of ammunition, let's move to the second theme, the art of reputation and attention. This covers laws 5, 6, and 7. And Greene seems to think reputation is, well, everything. Law 5 is, so much depends on reputation. Guard it with your life.
He calls it your shield and your sword.
Yeah.
If you have a rock-solid reputation, you can get away with things that others can't. It protects you from scrutiny.
The example of J.P. Morgan was interesting here. We think of him as this ruthless banking titan, a robber baron, but the source mentions he spent an absolute fortune collecting fine art Rembrandt's Vermeers.
He was buying a reputation for class, for sophistication. By associating himself with high culture, he softened his image. He wasn't just a greedy banker, he was a patron of the arts. It was a calculated distraction that made him untouchable in social circles that otherwise might have rejected him.
It's all just branding. But what if you're just starting out? You don't have a reputation to guard yet. And that's where Law 6 comes in. Court attention at all costs.
Yes. And this is where we have to talk about the tragedy of Nikola Tesla.
Oh, this is a heartbreaking case study. On one side, you have Tesla, who was arguably the genius of the age. On the other, Thomas Edison.
And we tend to think of Edison as an inventor, but the source frames him more as a showman.
A supreme showman.
Absolutely. Edison understood something Tesla didn't. It doesn't matter how good your invention is if no one is looking at it. Edison would stage these huge public spectacles. He'd make wild claims about robots to grab headlines. He electrocuted an elephant to prove a point about AC versus DC current. He understood that visibility is its own form of currency.
And Tesla, what was his approach?
Tesla believed in the work. He thought the science should just speak for itself. He avoided the spotlight. He thought the whole show was beneath him.
And the source mentions a detail that really stuck with me. Edison actually turned down a shared Nobel Prize because he refused to share the stage with Tesla. I mean, that is just so petty.
It's incredibly petty, but it's Law 6 in action. Edison refused to dilute his attention. And the result? Tesla died penniless and alone in a hotel room. Edison died a multi-millionaire and a national hero.
Which leads right into the most cynical law in this whole section, Law 7. Get others to do the work, but take the credit.
It sounds unethical, and I mean, it is unethical, but it happens every single day.
The Edison and Tesla story continues here, doesn't it?
It does. Edison hired Tesla to fix his dynamos. He promised him $50,000, a huge amount of money back then. Tesla works 18-hour days, fixes the problem, saves the company. And when he goes to ask for his payment?
Edison just laughs at him. He says, Tesla, you don't understand our American humor. He never paid him a dime.
Never did.
That just makes my blood boil.
Of course. But look at the outcome. Edison used Tesla's brain to secure his own empire. The concept here is standing on the shoulders of giants. The world credits the person who brings the idea to market, the one who is visible on the stage, not the person sweating in the basement.
So if you're the genius in the basement, you're basically prey.
Unless you learn to play the game,
Yeah.
you have to attach your name to your work. You have to court attention. Otherwise, someone like Edison will come along and put their name on it for you.
That is a harsh reality check. Okay, let's shift gears to the more interpersonal side of things. Theme 3, allies, enemies, and trust. This is where the book really challenges the idea of friendship. Law 2 is never put too much trust in friends, learn how to use enemies.
This one usually gets a strong reaction. We all want to work with our friends. We trust them. But Greene argues that friendship blinds you. When you hire a friend, you rarely vet them properly. You let things slide. And worse, friends often feel entitled.
They think they deserve the job because of the relationship, not because of their merit.
Exactly. And that breeds ingratitude. But the real danger is envy. The source tells the story of Michael III, the Byzantine emperor. He takes a stable hand, a guy named Basilius, saves him from poverty, gives him money, education, power. He makes him his best friend.
He basically creates him from nothing.
He does. And did Basilius feel grateful? No. He felt inferior. Every favor Michael gave him was just another reminder that Michael was the emperor and Basilius was the charity case. So to get rid of that feeling of inferiority, Basilius murdered Michael and took the throne for himself.
I hate you because you helped me. That is some dark psychology.
It is, but it's common. Now, compare that to the Song dynasty in China with Emperor Taizu. He comes to power in a time of constant coups. His generals are all potential rivals. He could have just killed them. That's what everyone else did.
But he doesn't. Instead, he invites them to a banquet.
The famous retirement banquet. He pours them wine and says, look, being a general is stressful. You have enemies, you have to watch your back. Why don't you just give up your command? I'll give you a massive estate, wealth, security. You can live like kings for the rest of your lives.
He bought them out.
He turned wolves into fat, happy dogs. And because he spared them when he could have killed them, they were incredibly loyal. But the deeper point Greene makes is about hiring your enemies.
The idea that a former enemy makes the best employee.
Yes, because they have something to prove. If you hire a friend, they think they're doing you a favor. If you hire a former enemy, they know they're on thin ice. They will work harder and be more loyal just to prove you made the right choice. Lincoln did this with his cabinet. He filled it with his biggest political rivals.
So keep your friends for the weekend and hire your enemies for the business.
That's the law.
There's one more aspect of relationships the source touches on here. Law 10, infection. Avoid the unhappy and unlucky. This sounds a little bit like victim blaming, doesn't it?
It can sound that way, but Greene is talking about a very specific type of person, not someone who just had a bad day. He's talking about infectors, people who are chronically dramatic, destructive, or chaotic.
And the example given is Lola Montez.
Right, the 19th century courtesan. She was magnetic, beautiful, but everywhere she went, disasters followed. Political scandals, suicides, bankruptcies. She seduced the king of Bavaria, and within a very short time, she had meddled so much in state affairs that the country was in revolt, and he was forced to abdicate.
She literally cost him his kingdom.
And the lesson there is that emotional states are contagious. If you surround yourself with people who are perpetually victims or perpetually creating chaos, you will get sucked into their vortex. You can't save them. You'll just drown with them.
So the strategy is to associate with the fortunate.
Associate with people who have the qualities you want to have. If you want to be happy and successful, surround yourself with happy, successful people. Their mindset rubs off on you just as much as the negativity of the unlucky ones.
Okay, we've covered ego, reputation, and relationships. Now we're getting into the heavy machinery, theme 4, strategy, deception, and negotiation. And this brings us to law 3, conceal your intentions.
This is all about information warfare. If people know what you truly want, they can predict your next move. They can block you. They can prepare.
The master of this was Otto von Bismarck.
The Iron Chancellor. He wanted to go to war with Austria. That was his ultimate goal. But the King of Prussia was a peace-loving man. He would never have agreed to it. If Bismarck had argued for war, he would have been fired on the spot.
So he did the exact opposite.
He publicly praised Austria. He talked constantly about the importance of peace. He set up a smokescreen. And while everyone was looking at his peaceful words, he was quietly maneuvering the army, isolating Austria diplomatically, and setting the trap.
So when the war finally happened,
It was too late for anyone to stop it. He got exactly what he wanted because nobody saw it coming until the trap had already snapped shut.
it's misdirection. Pure and simple, like a magician.
Exactly. The key is to be unreadable. The moment you declare your real goal, you give your enemies a target to aim at.
So when you do have to ask for something, Greene suggests a very specific approach in Law 13. Appeal to self-interest, never to mercy.
Oh, this is a mistake people make constantly. They need help, so they say, please, I'm struggling. I've been so loyal to you. I really need this. They're banking on gratitude or pity.
And Greene says that's just a complete waste of breath.
It's worse than a waste. It exposes your weakness. The story of Christopher Columbus illustrates this perfectly. Columbus was borderline obsessed with finding a westward route to Asia. He needed ships, money, crews. He went to the Portuguese king rejected. He went to the Spanish court.
And he didn't say, please, I have a dream.
No. He didn't talk about his passion or his years of study. He looked Queen Isabella in the eye and said, essentially, if you fund this, you will be richer than Portugal. You will have all the gold, all the spices, and you will spread Christianity to a new world.
He solved her problems, not his own.
He completely ignored his own needs and focused entirely on hers. He painted a picture where she won. That is how you negotiate. Don't tell me why you need a raise. Tell me how giving you a raise makes me more money.
Self-interest really is the universal language.
It's the lever that moves people.
And speaking of levers, we have to talk about Law 33. Discover each man's thumbscrew. This is the dark side of observation.
Thumbscrew refers to a medieval torture device, but here it's a metaphor for leverage. The source points to J. Edgar Hoover, the legendary head of the FBI.
The man who knew everything about everyone.
And he stayed in power for decades, through president after president, because he had files. He knew about the affairs, the gambling debts, the secret habits. He knew the thumbscrew of every single powerful person in Washington.
But he didn't always release the files, did he?
He rarely did. He just let you know that he knew. That's the real power. Once you know someone's deep insecurity or their secret vice, you have control over them. They will do what you want to keep that secret hidden.
It's the helpless child concept mentioned in the source, that everyone has a weakness where they have no defense.
Correct. Finding it is the key to control. And protecting your own thumbscrew is the key to freedom.
Okay, we've arrived at the final theme, the end game. This is Law 48. Assume formlessness.
It's the last law for a reason. It's really the synthesis of everything else. The source quotes Bruce Lee, "Be like water."
Which means what, exactly, in a power context?
It means don't get locked into a single way of doing things. Don't be rigid. If you have a fixed shape, you can be attacked. You can be predicted.
The source uses the business example of IBM, which is perfect.
Right. For a long, long time, IBM was the giant. But they were rigid. They believed the mainframe computer was the only future. They had a form that they couldn't break out of. It was their whole identity. When the personal computer revolution happened, IBM almost collapsed because they just couldn't adapt fast enough.
Where is a formless entity?
Changes with the environment. It flows around obstacles. If the enemy expects you to attack, you retreat. If they expect you to be aggressive, you become passive. By the time they figure out what you are, you've already changed into something else.
In a world that changes as fast as ours does, rigidity is death.
And adaptability is survival. That's the ultimate lesson. You can't just rely on the strategy that worked for you yesterday.
So looking back at all of this, the manipulation, the ego, the secrecy, it's a lot to take in. It feels a bit cold, maybe?
It is cold, but I think the expert takeaway here is really about permission. You don't have to become some Machiavellian schemer to get value from this book. You don't have to go out and crush your enemies.
But you have to know that someone might be trying to crush you.
Exactly. If you're in a meeting and someone starts praising you lavishly for no apparent reason, you shouldn't just feel good about it. You should think of Nicolas Fouquet. You should think, okay, wait, is this a trap?
It's about not being naive.
It's about stripping away the way we wish people behaved and seeing how they actually behave. Once you see the strings, you can stop being a puppet.
There's one final thought the source material brings up, and I think it's the perfect warning label for this entire discussion. Law 47. Do not go past the mark you aim for.
Ah, the danger of victory. This is so crucial. When we win, we get a rush of dopamine. We feel invincible.
The Napoleon example.
Napoleon is the classic case. He had conquered Europe. He was a military genius. But he didn't know when to stop. He invaded Russia because he thought he couldn't possibly lose. He went way past his mark.
And that, of course, destroyed him.
The source makes a profound point. Good luck is more dangerous than bad luck. Bad luck teaches you patience and caution. Good luck deludes you into thinking you're a god.
So the ultimate power is actually self-control, knowing when to stop.
That's it. Power without discipline is just a faster way to destroy yourself.
That is a powerful place to leave it. Next time you're navigating office politics or reading the news, look for the laws. Look for the silence, the reputation management, the smoke screens. You'll realize the game has been going on the whole time. You just finally have the rule book. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive. We'll see you next time.